Shalom Sazria Metzora, Tavshin Pei Gimel. What a pleasure it is to be back. We had such a great Yom Tov of Pesach. Baruch Hashem, we got in a couple of shiurim also. We didn't have to miss any weeks. Tonight we come back, full chametz dik, hot smorgasbord here for Toyamel on Thursday night. And of course, everybody really came to hear the shiur, but on the side, you have like a 10-course meal. That's really what's going on here, I can tell. And this week's Parsha, because it really is such a serious subject, so when we reach these Parshios of Sazria Metzora, each and every year, we try to give ourselves chizuk regarding the very severe and grave sin, Aveira of Lashon Hara. And essentially that's what the Parshios talk about. When a person would get tzaras, I don't know how many of you know, Chafetz Chaim says that people think that tzaras, the punishment of tzaras, went away. And it isn't anymore. But people need to know that there's still tzaras in your nefesh, in your soul. Now that after the Churban Habayis, and these days we don't get to see, we're not on the madrega, that we could see it on the outside, but a person's soul, a person's nefesh, your neshama is severely affected by when a person speaks Lashon Hara. And really, almost every year the shiur is, I listen back, it's hard for me to listen back to 13 years of shiurim, but I listen back to some of them, and of course, we do repeat this theme. Sometimes things are the same, and people want to know, why do you always have to give a shiur about Lashon Hara? I mean, you don't give a shiur about eating a ham sandwich, right? So why do you have to keep repeating the shiur about Shmiras HaLashon, about Lashon Hara? That's another thing people don't realize, that when somebody speaks Lashon Hara, when you say a negative thing about someone else, and you learn through Sefer Chafetz Chaim, Sefer Shmiras HaLashon, other svarim on Shmiras HaLashon, you realize that when you say something negative, you say something bad about another person, and you speak Lashon Hara, it is the same exact thing and probably much worse than taking a ham sandwich and eating it. Of going out to McDonald's every day and eating a sandwich. People don't look at it that way for some reason. That's why we have to keep repeating this inyan. You know, we don't go so much into the other side of it. We really should. The Yeshuas that people have had, and the good things that people have had happen to them when they were makabel on themselves, to be more cognizant, to be more zoyer, to be more careful about what comes out of their mouth. At least care as much about what comes out of your mouth as what goes into your mouth. And Chazal tell us in the Gemara, Masechet Erechim, Daf Tesvav Amud Beis, on the pasuk in our parsha, Zois Tiyeh Toras HaMetzora. Chazal tell us that the word Metzora is an acronym for Moitzi Shemra. This, that a person gets Toras, Zois Tiyeh Toras HaMetzora, for Moitzi Shemra, for someone that speaks badly of someone else, that's the punishment. Anyone who speaks Lashon Hara brings Negoim onto themselves. And the Gemara points out something very interesting. Gemara tells us, and we've said this in the past, you ever look in the Torah, you see that a Metzora brings a carbon of 2 birds. That's the carbon of a Metzora. The Gemara tells us, you know why the reason why dafka for this Aveira, for a Metzora, dafka for that, a person brings a carbon of 2 birds, that Negoyim, we know, as we said, come from Lashon Hara. And a person who speaks Lashon Hara is looked at min hashamayim, it's looked at somebody who can't stop chirping. You can't control your mouth. You can't stop your mouth from moving. So the Gemara tells us, Chazal say that you bring a carbon of birds that chirp. Just like a bird, right? Sometimes you're laying in your bed at 4:30, 5 o'clock in the morning, and there's birds outside your window, and you try to tell, well, you guys stop, I'm trying to sleep, right? But birds don't know how. They don't know how to stop chirping. That's what they do. So we tell this person, you go ahead, you bring a carbon of birds. Your mouth couldn't stop chirping. You bring a carbon of birds that keep on chirping. So the question really is, and we'll speak about a little bit now tonight from the Nesivos Shalom, why is it that Lashon Hara is such a severe Aveira? The Gemara also tells us that one who speaks Lashon Hara, unbelievably so, try to understand what this means, and we're going to try to explain a little bit. Somebody who speaks Lashon Hara is a kaifer be'ikr. A kaifer be'ikr. How's that possible? Someone's a kaifer? But yeah, we're going to explain. And Hashem says, the Gemara says, Hashem says that someone who speaks Lashon Hara, Kaviyachal, Hashem says that I and this person cannot exist together. We cannot exist in the same world. A person that speaks Lashon Hara cannot exist in the same world of a Kadosh Baruch Hu. And there are other more severe Maimorei Chazal just telling us the severity of this Aveira. So really, why is it? Why is it that way? The Nesivos Shalom explains to us what Lashon Hara essentially is. And listen to this very deep thought. He says that when a person speaks Lashon Hara, that kind of behavior is compared to the behavior of a snake. The Nachash, what does it mean that it's compared to the behavior of a snake? You know that a snake is inherently bad. There's no part of a snake that's good. The behavior of a snake is bad. Why is it bad? Because we know that when a snake bites, a snake will continue to bite, although it has no satisfaction and no benefit from it. Other animals, when they chase down other animals and they bite them and they tear them apart, so they're doing it because they want to eat. A snake, think about it, for no other reason. A snake goes ahead and it bites people without satisfaction. That is called inherently bad. When you yourself are getting nothing from it, and you still do it, you're hurting someone else, that is called inherently bad. And that is the chait of Lashon Hara. One who speaks Lashon Hara is different than someone who is over other Averos. By other Averos, if a person slips up and he has a battle with the Yetzer Hara and he loses, and you may lose at times, it's because there's a taiva. There's some sort of satisfaction that an Aveira may be giving you for the moment, and you lose sight of the big picture. We lose a battle, every person is human. You lose a battle with the Yetzer Hara because there's something there that you feel is going to satisfy you. But it's much different when you go ahead and you speak badly of another person. The pasuk in Koheles tells us, "Ve'ein yisroim lebal haloshoin." There's no rhyme and reason to a person who speaks negatively about other person. And the reason, what's the only reason somebody needs to speak Lashon Hara most of the time? And this is just an observation that I'm sure everybody knows. Most of the time when someone speaks Lashon Hara, it's because they are insecure. Because they're very insecure. And they have to come the only way. If you knock everybody else down, then in your mind you think that you may come out ahead one day. So you're there to knock someone else. That, says in the Nesivos Shalom, is called total ra. That's total bad. And that's why Chazal say such severe things about Lashon Hara. Mamela, somebody who does a different Aveira, and you have a momentary battle with the Yetzer Hara that you lose, so that's not totally bad. That means that you slipped up. People are human. You have to try harder next time. Yes, all of those things. But it's not totally ra. And when someone speaks badly, Lashon Hara, Rechilos, things that the Torah, HaKadosh Baruch Hu, looks so negatively at, so badly at, that's because it becomes without any pleasure. It's inherently bad. There's no hana involved. So a person can really be called even a koifer be'ikr. And Hashem can even say that I cannot, kaviyachol, exist in the world together with this person. A person who has reached that level of all bad, HaKadosh Baruch Hu doesn't want to associate with such a person. Nesivos Shalom adds another thought to this, and Nesivos Shalom says, we know Chaviv in Yisrael, Klal Yisrael, every Yid is beloved by HaKadosh Baruch Hu, shenikru vanim lamalkoim. Such a beautiful thing that we are called HaKadosh Baruch Hu's children. Zokt in Nesivos Shalom, that HaKadosh Baruch Hu, Hashem, cannot take it, cannot stand when someone speaks negatively about his children. Chaviv in Yisrael, shenikru vanim lamalkoim, that's not just some saying. It's a literal thing. Every single one of you, every one of us, is a child of HaKadosh Baruch Hu. And just as any other father would feel when someone says something negative about their children, HaKadosh Baruch Hu feels the same way. So, Zok to Nesivos Shalom, for the part of Lashon Hara where you're hurting someone, so maybe if you work hard enough, you go over. And then there's a lot of halachas involved. Many of the times you learn Sifrei Chafetz Chaim, many of the times you really should not go over to another person and tell them that you said something bad about them. But putting that aside right now, for the part of the Bein Adam Lachaveroi, you might be able to get mechila. Maybe your friend will forgive you. But you have to know, even after you get that, you are being mitzayer, you're bothering HaKadosh Baruch Hu. You're bothering Hashem, and that's what makes the chet so much more severe. You are talking badly about the HaKadosh Baruch Hu's children. So says the Nesivos Shalom that that's why Chazal tell us you're called a koifer be'ikr, because you need to know that one of the fundamentals of emunah, one of the fundamentals of Yiddishkeit, is to believe that you are a child of HaKadosh Baruch Hu. You're not stam, just another human being walking the face of the earth, taking up space for 120 years. No, you're a child. HaKadosh Baruch Hu cares about you as a child. HaKadosh Baruch Hu wants you to be close to Him as a child. And that is a fundamental of Emunah. That is something that every Yid, it's part of Emunah, something that every Yid has to believe. And you know something, if you believe that, if you actually believe that, you wouldn't talk Lashon Hara about Hashem's children. If you would believe that you're a child of Hashem and every other person in the room, every other person in your community, everyone else in your family is also a child of HaKadosh Baruch Hu, you would never speak negatively about them. So what is it showing when you speak Lashon Hara about somebody? You're showing that you don't believe that people are children of HaKadosh Baruch Hu. And if you don't believe that, Mamela, Chazal say, you could be called a koifer be'ikr. And Hashem could say, I don't want to live in the same world with this person. The lesson really we have to take, as we say every year, the lesson we have to take out of this is that we have to go by this Shabbos when we read the Parshiyos, and the Parshiyos seem very technical. And this and that, the kohen is taken, and then there's a kapara, and there's karbonis and everything, but we can't lose sight. We have to get down to the basics. Get down to the basics. What causes all this trouble? Beis HaMikdash was destroyed because of sinas chinam. Talmidei Rabbi Akiva, we're now in the middle of Svira. Talmidim of Rabbi Akiva, 24,000 of them were nifter. Shalei noagu kavod bezeh. We have to become more serious about it. Watch what we say. Watch how we treat other people. That's what HaKadosh Baruch Hu wants to say, wants to see. And if the Beis HaMikdash was destroyed because of sinas chinam, avas chinam, and being more careful is exactly what is going to bring back the Shechina, what's going to bring Mashiach. And we should all be taka zoicha b'mher v'yameinu.